Did you? Aloha, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of A Better World with Adrienne. My name is Adrienne. I'm a life magician, a shaman, a healer, a guide, and this channel exists for you to up-level your leadership, up-level your life, be the true mystic you, and wield that shit to make a world we're proud of. Because when each of us anchors our dream, we all light a spark and together we ignite a new earth. And so that is why this channel exists. It's an unrestricted channel where we can talk about things that actually matter. And today, I'm so deeply grateful and excited to be welcoming my brother, Seph. And as you guys know, if you've been listening for a while, this is a sacred space for me. So when I bring someone on, it's like they fit the sacred space. Like I'm bringing them in because I expand with these people. And so I'm just so excited to have Seph here. So welcome, Seph.
Thank you for having me. I love the way you introduced this space and create the intention for the audience, which is interesting because that's exactly why we would do this, is to create this expansion for and with the audience. And as we know, we're just instruments or channels of the light, but it is so much joy to get to be that instrument and to get to watch all this expansion. I love when you talked about the sparks because it definitely is accelerating this awakening right now, which is why it's exciting to do this episode with you. So thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I feel like whenever we connect, it's like on the Grinch when the heart expands so big,
Yes.
it like just busts through the metal thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is my heart on Seph.
Yes. Yes. Well, especially now when we do the work, whatever that work is, whether we're serving through having this conversation or we are serving through like doing sessions with breath work or with the angels or with energy or whatever, we definitely find ourselves getting aware that something is expanding us, and it'll be in our mind. We'll feel drunk on consciousness. We will feel spacey. Our heart will begin to pound. And it's beautiful to have these very deep registers, which tells us that we're definitely connected and we're definitely expanding and shifting. But yes, absolutely. This synergy is like that. And I also feel like we can feel connected to the audience as well, that this is a connection
Oh yeah.
with them. And it's kind of a feedback loop through quantum time and space. So even
Mhm.
though in linear time they have yet to listen to this episode, the really cool thing is we're already with them in having a one-on-one session with them through their ears, which is also one of the things that we can
Mhm.
feel when we start to feel expanded like this. But it does feel good.
It does feel so good. And yeah, I just when you connect with someone else who's just really like committed and in that just like source, like soaked with source. It's like I made sure to eat beets this morning because I was like, stay in your human body. um,
Yes,
but
that sounds
yeah,
delicious.
I'm so excited. So what
Yes.
we do here is I share the altar, and the altar is just respect to spirit, and it sets the stage for the magic that we get to channel. And so I actually I've been holding this Lemurian citrine crystal ever since I was
Mm,
guided to it, my first week here on Maui. And for those of you listening, Seph is Lemurian as well. So
mhm.
that's a big part of our connection. I have fresh flowers from the farmer's market that I got. And
Wow.
so it's like major, just major earth energy and love. And the hibiscus I got to cut from my backyard. And look at
Oh,
this. It's like it's the pink quantum, the source of all of us. That's what I was getting. And then
yes.
I was also getting with the red. I'll show the red for the people on YouTube. The red is like, this is what I get from these flowers, okay? It's safe to love this big.
Yes.
It's safe to be in the quantum.
Yes.
So we have so much flower energy. I always burn a white candle because I hold the belief that that purifies the space and calls in our healed ancestors and guides and the
Hmm.
angels.
Yes.
And now we take 3 deep breaths to connect our energy for me to my highest self, for you and I, Seph, for us to be clean channels for a message bigger than us, and also to connect with the hearts and the souls of all the people that get to receive this message.
Mm.
So just feel your feet on Mother Earth, allowing anything that happened today leading up to this moment to just roll off your back. Inhale through your nose. Open up your mind to new ideas. Exhale out the mouth. Inhale through your nose, allowing the cells of your body to be coated with new wisdom, soaked in divine white light. Exhale out the mouth. Finally, one last inhale through the nose. This time you are covered in purple light. Your spirit, your soul, the royalty that you are from other realms. Set your intention for this space. Exhale out the mouth. Gently blink open your eyes.
Mm.
Here we are.
Here we are. You know, one of the things I wanted to say about the flowers after we did the breath work, flowers have their own magic. So I love that you brought them, and especially that hibiscus, which you can definitely see the pattern of unity and you can see the pattern of unconditional love in there. And flowers are so magical. One of the things that I discovered is that when we give ourself flowers, it is an act of self-love, and we manifest from that gesture we make to ourselves. And I discovered this when I was selling cars. And if my sales would get flattened, and I discovered it accidentally, actually, I was over at the market and I saw this big, beautiful bunch of flowers. And I said, I'm going to get those for myself. It'd be just like receiving them from someone else, but receiving them from myself. And I got them. And the very next day, I sold 3 cars, and I never did anything like that. And then I started experimenting with it. And every time anything would start to feel flattened, I would go and run and get myself flowers and feel the love for myself when I would do that. And magic starts to happen when you give yourself flowers as an act of love, not a manipulation of the universe, but an act of love to yourself. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And it just, for me, I feel that so deep, and it's my ritual every Sunday. I get flowers, and it's like my home feels incomplete without the fresh flowers. And then just like, especially for, I mean, people know I'm an astrologer. So I use it with my astrology as well, because like, especially if you have a lot of Venus energy in your chart, it's like extra potent for you to
Mm.
surround yourself with beauty. And I'm a Libra moon and a Taurus rising, so it's like my lifestyle.
Well, you
But
came here to do business and make things right, didn't you?
I did. And just honestly, like anything, it's just abundance. Like walking out in my backyard and being able to just receive literally from Mother Earth, like, oh my God, she created this. And it's not like I pick it and it's done, it's like this constant beauty. And just, I didn't have to burn out to go get the flower, like it's just so
Right.
gorgeous.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I want to share more about you with my audience. And okay, so your last name Dietlin, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so I was guided to Seph like super magically, and it was back in June. We're recording this at the end of August 2023. Back in June, I was, going through a rumble with life. And I was following my intuition and realizing, okay, I'm moving to Maui. I'm leaving Chicago. All of these doors are like slamming shut in my business because I'm just simply not, that's not my deepest dharma. And spirit angels told me to listen to one of Haley Hoffman's older podcasts. And I just swiped my finger, and it like your name just popped out of the screen at me, and I just pressed play. And let me tell you, I listened to that podcast, I think 5 times in a row.
Oh, wow.
And it was just this like, holy shit, this is what I've been looking for. I don't know. I don't fully understand it, but it's a full body yes. And at the time, I was experiencing so many completions in my business and my cash flow that I was like, oh, I want to book a reading. But like, is that smart? Is that responsible? And I asked Spirit, I said, just make it clear to me. Like, is it cool to book this reading? And within an hour, I received $2,000 into my bank account. And I was like, hell yes, we're doing the reading. And
Yes.
the rest is history. I've learned so much from you. I've deepened my connection to spirit and the angels, and especially the tarot has changed my life. So I just am really excited to share you with my audience. And one of the questions I wrote down is like, how do you help people connect to angels, spirit, source, and let that just like guide their life with full trust? Because that's something I had a deep trust before, and it's just like quantum leaped again and again and again since we've been connected. And I feel that that's something that a lot of people in my audience want to develop that skill. So how do you do
Yes.
this?
Yes. Well, first of all, I give all props, I give all credit to the angels themselves. And I'll tell you a little bit about how they came into my world and the agreement that I made with them. But before I do that, I
Mhm.
also remember when you called me for that reading, because when we do anything, whether we take a class for consciousness or we learn to heal with consciousness, and it costs us, money in the 3D sense, the universe has an amazing way of providing for that, because our number one prime directive is to expand consciousness. So when we do that, the resources always show up. And I do remember the reading because at the time I was in Hawaii as well on the Big Island. And one of the first things that I heard from the angels, and I said to you, was, "You're supposed to be in Hawaii." And you hadn't
Mm-hmm.
actually told me up until then that you were being guided there. But I heard from the angels right off the bat that you were being guided to Hawaii. And it was for a reason, for an energetic purpose. And that, I think, is what really connected through the authenticity of it, right? And I
Yeah.
remember that because I remember hearing them say that. And I thought, well, that's interesting because I'm here in Hawaii right now. And I remember hearing them say that, and you shared that with me. And I said, oh, yeah, no matter what obstacles you feel that you're surrounded with right now, you are meant to be here. And you are, because there you are. And at perfect time,
Mhm.
too. So
Yeah.
when I first met the angels, just to kind of keep the story short, is I was really enamored by that. It's like, wow, can you imagine talking to angels? And this was 20 some years ago that they first came into my reality. I was 30 something years old,
Wow.
32, 33, 31, something like that. Anyway, I
I'm 32.
yes, yay. I was that one day a while ago. Uh so anyways, they came into my reality and they were very magical, they were very miraculous. And when I finally figured out that they in fact were real, and this is a cool story actually, because I knew that they'll materialize feathers and coins on our path. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I left the post office one day when I was sort of going in and out of whether this was true or not. And and I um a feather materialized right in front of me in thin air. Well, I left the post office and it started to glide to the left. And I had been going to that post office to check my post office box for 7 years. And there was a metaphysical bookstore there that I never knew was there. And I went, and there was a woman who did angel readings. And it was
Oh,
Tuesday at 2:25. She worked Tuesdays from 2 to 6. And I thought, oh my gosh. So I went in there and I asked if she was available. And the 2:30 slot had just been crossed off. She said, oh, someone just canceled this 2:30 slot. Well, anyways, I sat in front of her and I said, she, without even saying anything, she just looked at me and she said, oh, the angels said that they're talking to you. I can see all of them around you, but you don't know whether it's real or not. And so these kind of
oh.
experiences are absolutely magical. I did not embellish that story whatsoever. There's more to it, even that's incredible. So when I got into the car, I was so excited to have this experience of connecting to the angels authenticated that I said to the angels, okay, what do you want me to do? This is a very extraordinary gift to have. What do you want me to do? How can I help you help humans? You obviously want to reach
Mm-hmm.
other people through me. Suit me up, coach. Put me in the game. I'm like,
Yeah.
how can I be an ambassador for you on earth? And so that was 20 plus years ago. And now here we are. I mean, they're a part of my world every day. And this is how they bring us together. They bring us together with the audience, whoever's meant to hear this, and everything like that. So the one big thing that we always must do when we have these gifts is always remember that we're an instrument, and always remember to
Mm-hmm.
call in the source of those gifts. and
Mm-hmm.
and they love to make their presence known too, which is absolutely amazing. I do events live and on in virtually, and people always explain that when we're doing them, they can feel the presence of the angels, and that's all the angels. And it's really exciting to get to be part of such amazing miracles.
Yeah. And I feel really emotional just hearing you speak because it's like, this is the nectar of life. Like it just there, it's unmatched, the love that we get to steward and just be a part of. And it's like, I just want to say thank you for answering the call and just
I,
You
it,
continue to change my life.
well,
And the angels do as well.
it's really not me, to be honest with you. It's
Yeah.
them. But the love that you talk about, I get to experience most of the time. I mean, I'm a human being, so I get to actually have anxiety once in
Mhm.
a while too. Especially
What a
with,
joy.
yeah, right. That too. So, but it definitely makes it relatable, you know. And if anyone ever
Mhm.
says becoming a master means that you're floating around on a magic carpet, that is not the case. While we're still in the body, we're going to have those moments, which are just pivot points. They're parts of us moving forward and all of that. But I feel grateful to get to play because I watch these things happen and I get to be part of it too. And when I channel for people, whether it's a reading or whether it's an event that I do, or even when I channel the cards, the tarot cards that the angels asked me to do, or the classes that I created, when those got channeled, I learn things as I'm channeling them, as you know, right? I'm speaking for them, and then all of a sudden I'm like, what? That is incredible! I love it.
Uh-huh.
Can I share something with you that I think your audience is
Oh,
going to love? That
yes.
is so. This is an example
Yes.
of what they do. They change the way that we see things so that the things that we see will change. And that's why every single
Mhm.
external shift that we experience happens from an internal shift or a paradigm pivot. Okay. And this is one of my very favorite paradigm pivots that they've given me lately that I'm walking around with and experience unusual amounts of peace, considering everything that's going on in the world right now. They
Mhm.
said, instead of seeing all of these events as a product of the matrix upping its game, see it
Mm.
from our perspective as this is actually proof that the matrix is being dismantled, that it's
Yes.
actually imploding upon itself, and that the fact that we can see this means that humanity's awareness has been raised to the point where nothing is hidden anymore.
Mhm.
Nothing is hidden. That means that anyone or anything that wants to manipulate humanity off of the path of the light can no longer have the power to do that because nothing can be hidden. Think of humanity, like think of a water level that's been rising and rising and rising. And now, not just individuals, but collective humanity is intuitive enough, whether they know it or not. We are intuitive enough that nothing can be hidden from us by the matrix, which is the only power that it ever had, was secrecy and anything that was hidden in outside of what could be seen. And that is gone. And when you pivot into that and step back into your creativity and step out of the fear that what the world of illusion would want to give you, then all of a
Mhm.
sudden you expand in a new level of empowerment. And then you can
Mhm.
go and create and understand that if you need money or resources for something, it's coming. If you need guidance, if
Mhm.
you need a collaboration, it's coming. It's already yours. And nothing
Mhm.
that's happening in this world is going to take you off the path of the light.
Yes. And it's so important, that message and the very specific way that you channeled it and share it, because so many people in my community, like, if you care about a new earth, like, you're an empath, you have a huge heart. And so what I feel from a lot of people is just like feeling the pain and like
Yeah.
looking at the truth. And I really think it's important to not look away, to definitely look and be
Yes.
aware. We
Mm-hmm.
can't, because that's the same thing but just in a different outfit.
Right.
Like keep keep our tabs on it and not being at the mercy of it, staying in this truth of the light and everything you're sharing. It's like major exposure vibes.
Yeah.
And
Yes. And this is very important. Well, first of all, one of the things the angels say, of course, is that we live in a harmonious universe. And the nature of the creator is harmony, creativity, expansion, unconditional love, and infinite abundance. So the litmus test of what is the new earth is a reflection of those characteristics, all of those characteristics, harmony, abundance, unconditional love, peace, truth, justice, all of that is the nature of the creator. And it's actually the nature of the hologram or the reality that we live in. If you like the word simulation, whatever you like to use the word. So the new earth is actually a return to the original divine design. And anything that contradicts that energy is actually being corrected out right now, which is why we see the events that we see around us. So being in the new earth and being already familiar with these paradigms. So many of us, and remember, there's no linear time. So these are simultaneous realities where we're living in Lemuria still. We're living in,
thank God.
yes, we're living in higher vibrating realities. And we're still remembering the divine blueprints while we're embodied in this body. And while we're doing that, we're metamorphosizing this reality to be what it's designed to be, which is a place of lavish creation. None of that other stuff. And people think it's so immutable. And this is triggering for some too. I've got to share with you that someone who was considering having me on a podcast said, I'd love to have you, but I don't want you to talk about this in the sense that this is on an accelerated timeline, because that's not realistic, because those that have power in this world will never give it up. And she was very triggered by it. And I thought, well, that's very interesting. And it is unbelievable, the acceleration of the timeline that we're on. It is unbelievable, right? But
Well,
this is,
that's what makes it magical.
yeah, but it is the magic. You're absolutely right. And regarding actually being aware of it, the angels say that we should be aware of it, but not be hooked by it. And what I mean by hooked by it, especially because you mentioned the empathic nature of those of us who are here with the imprints or the blueprints of the new earth, we're also empathic. And empathic is a sort of an insurance policy that we stay embodied with our consciousness, because those who lack consciousness don't have empathy. They don't have access to consciousness, so they don't have empathy. But that's the source that we draw on to create the new earth, right? And so that's our insurance policy, that we stay aligned with our mission. It's like our life cord to the source. And so you may be seeing events or knowing about events that are happening in this world that are horrific. And we are meant to be aware of them, but not let them take us out, because the minute that we are flattened by our reaction to these events, we're taken out of the power that we have to create the new earth. So we want to stay in there. And that's nothing about being authentic or bypassing or anything like that. It's just being aware of what we're focused on. And one way that the angels use to keep us focused on that is saying, the main event here is the conscious movement into full expression. The main event is not this geopolitical situation that's collapsing, where the money system and all the other constructs of the matrix are collapsing of the limitation under the limitations that they exist within. And it's not really a big deal. It's just that they're not capable of sustaining the new earth energies, and they've been the medicine that the human experience needed up until now, and they're no longer needed. It's no longer needed. So when we see these horrific events that's part of this implosion, we're not meant to let that take us to a diminished or lowered place. We're just meant to observe them, but always remember that the elevation of consciousness, or the return of consciousness to its full creativity and infinite form, that's the main event here.
That's the main event. That's the main event. And what's coming through really strong for me is, for anyone listening, you're a human, and it's not about perfection. It's just like in meditation. Like, if you go off on a thought, then you come back with love, and you can just, like in yoga, shift your drishti, shift your gaze. And I love how you keep saying return, because it's written in the stars. We have all these planets in retrograde, and retrograde is literally retro, something from the past. And we're getting a grade about how it's going, and we're getting a chance for it to come back in an improved way. And so we have Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, Uranus, the planet of shock, upheaval, change, revolution, is just stationing retrograde. We got Pluto entering Aquarius, which literally translates to power to the people. Aquarius is all about the collective. And so it's a 21-year cycle. And I just keep hearing from my guides and the angels, like, new earth is now, new earth is now. Like, you thought it was coming later, it's now.
It is now. Yeah.
I think it's really potent and goes along with what you are sharing, because I am on Maui, and that's where all these fires occurred. I heard the most miraculous thing, though. So it's one of the most historic parts of the island that did burn. And all of these houses, there's this huge loss of life, and yet there's this tree called the banyan tree. I believe that's what it's called. That's a massive, massive tree, and it's still alive. It's literally still alive. It's one of the biggest trees on the whole globe.
Yeah.
And it's still alive. And I was just like, it's the tree of life. It's the tree of life. Like you cannot destroy the tree of life. And as soon as I heard that, I had this vision. My human vision went out, and it went all white. And then I saw the core of Gaia, and she was just like holding that tree. And it's just like, it's just a pillar of a new earth.
Right. Well, and if you think about this in terms of being a sign, right? Because you have, and I'm just going to refer to it as the event in Maui that created the fires. And in whatever way that could have had the potential to be destructive, consciousness itself said, "Oh no, you don't.
Yes.
You cannot do that. You can take what's yours, but you can't take what's mine." Right. So you can take down your buildings, the fires that came from whatever source. It can take down the buildings, but you can't touch me. And that's one of the most interesting things about the New Earth energy. And Hawaii is a place, a portal actually, for New Earth blueprints. And so the intent or the will of the creator is that we make it to fulfillment of the new earth, and nothing from the matrix has the power to thwart that. And so that banyan tree, as you mentioned, is symbolic. So the banyan trees are they're all over Hawaii. They're the most beautiful, largest, tropical trees, with the branches hanging from them. For those who don't know what a banyan tree is that you look at these trees, they're the most incredible trees. They have them all over the Hawaiian Islands. And I've never been to Lahaina, but I do remember that there was a huge banyan tree there. There's a huge banyan tree in Hilo, right around where um, the old town Hilo is. And there's, they're all over the place. If you go to Akaka Falls, there's a bunch of
Mhm.
banyan trees right next to the waterfalls on the Big Island, but they're all over. But I love how nature has given a warning to
Mhm.
those who may think that this is their time. It's given
Uh-huh.
them a message that says, oh, no, you don't.
Well, you know what I heard was come at me, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because everything that happens from here, because there definitely is a very corrupt response to the event. And
Mhm.
and it it kind of does make the fire quite suspicious because of the corrupt response. But in that particular
Mhm.
sense, it has it's being watched, which is interesting, back to the
Mhm.
whole awareness thing. It's being watched. And people around the world are saying, wait a minute, isn't Hawaii a sovereign nation that's illegally occupied
Right.
by the United
Right.
States?
Oh,
Wait a minute,
yes.
doesn't that land belong to the people of Hawaii? And doesn't that belong to the people? And the response to this is being watched, but with very awakened eyes, you know?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
for anyone out there being aware of it and watching this, take comfort in that.
Mhm.
Because in some ways, we may feel like we don't have the power to respond to the corruption and clean it up, but we don't have to. Being aware of it is the steps that's being taken towards what will ultimately end up creating that demolition. But the angels have been very clear with me for the last 20 years. Don't worry about these cataclysmic events. Don't let them take us
Mhm.
into fear, that these actually have to happen to bring us into the new earth,
Mhm.
which is really the old one, the one that the creator originally designed.
The ancient. I saw a sea turtle for the first time here, and it was like he looked me in the eye and he said, "I'm ancient and so are you."
Mm,
And he said, "The people you roll with are ancient too."
yes. That I
And I
that
was it was just like it was really cool.
Yeah. Well, turtles are so beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, there's just so much. It's just rich with nourishment for our soul and just what we're stepping into and what we're really being called forward into as leaders of a new earth. And so I guess I have two questions for you is like I would love for you to share how the tarot supports you and the leaders that you serve in staying in their power and connection to the angels. And then
Yeah.
I also would love if there's just anything coming through for the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I love that question. So, interestingly enough, I grew up in the Catholic religion. And
Mm,
when I was a teenager, it didn't really resonate with me. I was told to believe things that I didn't really believe. So there was a part of me that was already awake and saw the teachings, let's say, to be in direct conflict with how I viewed the creator. So I viewed the creator as unconditional love and not someone who's going to send me to hell. And
right.
um, I believe in unconditional love for all beings. And I believe that the relationship with that creator is from within, and it doesn't need to be done in a specific building in a specific way where other people have told you all of that. Seemed like manipulation to me. It felt like manipulation to me, and I didn't feel this full of light. So ultimately, even though I grew up in that, I also grew up with the demonization of certain things like, the tea leaves or intuition, the tarot cards and things like that. Turns out my great grandmother from Ireland read the tea leaves, which makes perfect
Oh
sense, right?
my gosh, what's her name?
Margaret. And
Wow.
so Maggie, so very Irish. But in at any rate, uh, so when I first started communicating with the angels, they asked me to get tarot cards and use them as ways of actually aiding them in giving me messages. And so when I would read the tarot and I would see images in the tarot, I would get the rest of it through intuition and my conversation. When I do readings now, I don't use the tarot because it's kind of like a training tool as well for us to expand our intuition and get into connectivity with the quantum field through the angels. So I started teaching people how to read tarot the angelic way, I guess you could say. And these tarot classes that I started teaching were, yes, talking about how to read tarot, how to work with it, but somehow or another, I started channeling when I started teaching them. And so it was more about how do you access source consciousness? How do you access genuine intuition? Just using this as a tool. And it's just a tool that gives you access to your actual gift of knowing and connectivity. Because the knowing and connectivity can be accessed without the cards, but the cards are a wonderful tool for accessing them when we have difficulty accessing them. And that's the big point, is access.
Mm-hmm.
Access. Because as an awakened person, and I'm speaking to the audience as well as present company,
Yeah.
as an
P.S.
as
You're all awakened, whether you realize it or not.
you
Your
are,
cells, your
yeah,
cells are vibrating. I'm alive.
exactly. And as an awakened person, we go in and out of access to our awareness because we're in the human body still. And the tarot is a wonderful tool to access it, whether we have trouble accessing it or it's another way of just making it easily accessible. The tarot is one way to actually create a bit more ease in accessing our awareness. The awareness is the real thing. The tarot is just an access point to that. Well, that led to I created a class online, which I know you're participating in.
Okay,
And
so it's literally changing my life,
oh, I
y'all.
love that. Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to share a little bit about it. Um, I had no fucking idea. It just felt like a full body yes. And so when I get that from spirit, I just jump, I just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I joined, and one of the things that he shares is like just start with drawing like one card each morning. And you know, that's like a mirror for the lesson that the angels are going to teach you. And so I made up this song that I sing when I pull the card. And it
Oh,
goes, Dear angels, what is the lesson for today? Dear angels, what is the lesson for today? I am willing to learn. I am willing to grow. I am willing to go. Dear angels, what is the lesson for today?
I
And
love
so I
that.
sing to them.
Thank
And then I
you.
pull the
Beautiful.
card.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so
But
it's so powerful because that access is like, especially when you're stepping into new arenas, it's so powerful. And then, you know, when you let it be as magical and true as it really is, then it changes your life. Like for example, my card I drew today was a 2 of Cups
mhm,
facing up, and it literally is about two people in partnership flowing unconditional love
mhm.
and connectivity. And I literally texted Seph and I was like, oh my God, I pulled a 2 of Cups.
Yes, exactly. It was talking about our, what we're doing today, which is great. And
Yeah.
remember that love is timeless. Well, the biggest thing about doing intuitive readings and accessing intuition is the misnomer is that it's all about predicting the future or what the future holds, but that's not actually true. The biggest contribution that intuition gives us is a shift of paradigm of what we're seeing. And that's why when I designed the deck that you also have, and you talk about the daily pull, the
Mhm.
angels asked me to put a message on each of the cards so that when somebody does pull them as a daily pull, that there's an oracle meaning behind them as well. So when the angels guided me to create this deck or co-create this deck with them, then we ended up with the Ascension with the Angels tarot deck. There's a few things that happened. First of all, we eliminated some cards with some hard edges, like the Devil card became the Fear
Yeah.
card. The High Priestess card and the Death card got changed to their actual meaning. The Death card is the Rebirth card, and the High Priestess is the Intuition card. So it removes kind of those references as well, and has a softer, kind of more angelic feel to them. But in there is these messages every day. So when you do pull your daily card, you can go in there and get the channeled message from the angels with the card. Because what happens when I first started teaching the class, I didn't know this was going to happen. And then I learned that it does. And I first started teaching this class in LA like 15 years ago. I worked at
Mm.
this place where I did readings and I taught a tarot class. And the students would come in and they would start to pull their daily oracle cards at the beginning. And they would come in and they'd tell me the stories of what would happen. Like somehow or another, they would pull a card, and it's as if the day's events were catered to the card. And
Mhm.
so you could call it predictive, but it wasn't predictive. But what it would do is it would give them an opportunity to really expand in the card's meaning. So I'll give an example. The Strength card, which is ultimately about overcoming obstacles with the power of positive energy. So someone would pull the Strength card, and then what would happen is they would encounter an obstacle, and then they would remember that they had pulled the Strength card, and they would say, "Ooh, let me apply positive energy instead of reacting or getting into the drama of it." And then they would notice either some form of miraculous resolve. I remember there was a student that came in that she said, I pulled the Strength card, and she was in a really ugly divorce. And apparently her soon
Oh.
to be ex-husband had reached out to her. And so she knew that the angels were guiding her to overcome that with positivity. And she was mad at the angels because she didn't want to give any positive energy to her husband. But she did. And ultimately, what happened was she treated the situation with positive energy. And then her husband said, I really have to tell you that you're an incredible person. And I'm really sorry that
Oh.
this happened. And she knew that it came because she allowed him or gave him permission to open up, because she did what she said. Now, what's interesting, if we think about that story and associate that with the Strength card, that is a good concrete concrete example of what the Strength card means. And so the idea is that when anytime we decide to learn to increase our awareness, the universe is up there going, yes, I want to
Yeah.
play too. So
Yes.
whenever you learn something new, the universe will send some set of circumstances or experience or events your way that will concretize what you learned that day while it's still fresh, as a way of actually doing its part to fuel your expansion. And so I thought, wow, what a wonderful path for that to happen, right?
Mhm.
And so ultimately, to finish answering your question about that, is that I realized it was an amazing way to use this to create ascension, which is why I called the deck Ascension with the Angels Tarot, which is why they asked me to do this.
Mhm.
And when they asked me to create this, I said, okay, they said, one of the things we're going to do is those who receive this deck, those who acquire this deck, we're going to be present in there. So this is a wonderful way for people to be able to access the angels. And there's a hidden energy or a broadcast, or you could say a transmission or a calibration in them that has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the angels. And people who are highly aware, they get the box in their hands and their heart just ignites and they say,
Oh.
oh my gosh, I can feel the angel's presence around me. So it's very, very activated energetically as well, which is technically the purpose. Because sometimes when we go to learn tarot, we kind of take it from a left brain angle, like, ooh, the hermit card means introspection. And then that's paired with, let's say the, the world card, which means completion. So maybe I'm complete with, and we sort of think about it, but we're not supposed to
Yeah.
think about it. It's supposed to activate us. It's supposed to activate our higher awareness, sort of like it activates when we're in the shower or we're
Mhm.
sitting next to a fireplace or a waterfall or something like that when we get put into the theta
Ooh.
brainwave state. So that's it's a wonderful way to do that. And the cards can kind of be a wonderful distraction in that sense, which actually quiets the mind. That's the only thing that interferes from us fully accessing our conscious state.
Mhm. Oh, wow. So yeah, I highly recommend invite if you felt that when Seph was sharing about the tarot, like it's just an amazing tool. It's such a beautiful tool and it's so, it's not like I'm new to the tarot, but I'm new to this
Mhm.
frequency
Right.
and this expression of it. It's different. It's new earth.
Yeah. And that's why the class is called the Ascension with the Angels Tarot class. And
Mhm.
it's not for everybody. It's for those who have a higher frequency or who are interested in a higher frequency expression of intuition. And the class is sort of energetically charged. So um, the the class, the cards, they're all energetically charged, and that energy source isn't me. It just comes through me. I'm
Mhm.
just a humble servant of it, and I just get to watch the amazing miracles that happen from it. So they asked me to record the modules. There's 10 modules, and they cover all the meanings of the cards and how to lay them out and read them. And then to talk about what the cards mean when they come up in a reading, each of them individually. And then twice a month, I do, a live teaching where people can come in or it's recorded to expand on that. And then there's a community where you can do, spreads and practice with other people who are on the same path. So I made it really easy to access too, which is why, when you go in there, you get the first month for free. And it's just a way of seeing, if it's for you, if it's on your frequency, if you resonate with it and all that. And that way you get to kind of try it out and test it out and see if it's yours before, you commit to it. And I wanted to make it really accessible for people because the point of the whole program is to ignite consciousness in others.
Mhm. Yeah, so we'll definitely have all the links and information to sign up for that. Just like, why not, right? Give it a whirl. There's literally no reason not to.
Right,
Just
exactly.
let it be a fun experiment.
Yeah.
Um, Finally, I really just, if there's anything you are really feeling that you want to share with the audience, if there's anything from the angels specifically for this community, I just open up the floor.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to pull a couple of the cards actually. I'm going to pull I'm
Yay!
going to pull three of the cards from here. Oh, I love this. I love this. I love this. Okay, so the first card, I'm pulling this from the Ascension with the Angels Tarot deck. The first card is the Fool card, which the Fool
Cool.
card, when I had this one designed, it has the traveler being watched over by his guardian angels and the inner child dancing above. This is really a time to trust and know that you're going in the right direction. And when you're listening to this, you and the audience, you know that this is speaking to you. You actually already know that you're traveling in the right direction The only difference is that your nervous system is being taxed right now by the events of the collective. So this is
Mhm.
a wonderful reminder that your angels are around you right now, and you
Mhm.
need only just call on them. Sometimes we just forget to do that. We just forget to do that. And I believe that that's the beginning of the message of what they want the listeners, the audience, to hear is just to actually step into the frequency of knowing that you're on the right path, that it's a rich path, and it's definitely being guided and guarded with the source of unconditional love from above. And speaking
Mm.
of love comes the Page of Cups. I pulled the Page of Cups next.
Ooh.
And the Page of Cups, when we designed this card, she's looking into the chalice, and the chalice in the water represents the heart. Intimacy is something, and this is card usually means intimacy, but intimacy is something that we experience from within. Even when we're in intimate relationships, it's our own self-love that we're experiencing, not love that comes from someone else, because love comes from source. And so the interesting thing is that the Page of Cups understands that intimacy is something that's found from within, not externally. Externally can just be something that brings it in. But the Page of Cups, it also means being close and being intimate and finding that source of self-love. So right
Mm.
now, I know that to complement the fact that your angels are around you and just showering you with unconditional love, you're being guided to open up your connection from within to temporarily take your gaze off of the external world, bring it within, and
Mhm.
find that radiance coming through you as they're beaming that in. And
Mhm.
then the next card that I pulled is the Ace of Swords. And the Ace of Swords is the Triumph card, or I also like to say the Transmutation card, because the Suit of Swords is all about the mind, but the left brain. And when I actually designed this with an artist, I got this idea and I said to her, hey, the angels said that the Ace of Swords should be the violet flame of transmutation. And
Is
the
that
angels,
Saint Germain?
yes, it's the
Ah.
violet flame of transmutation. And so literally, and it also has, you see the Fibonacci sequence in there as
Oh,
well.
I love that.
Yeah, so which is the design of life. And so we have that in there as a, she goes, well, that's interesting because I was drawing something that the angels told me to draw, and it was exactly this. So that was the way that the angels wanted us both to know that we were in a triangulated relationship with them while we were channeling the expression of these cards. And the way the Ace of Swords means is this is about transmutation, just like the Strength card. This is about the light triumphing over the mind, which is the only place where fear and the darkness and the matrix exists. And so this is about understanding that you will triumph, that you are triumphant, and that you are in present tense triumph. And see the victory or the triumph. Know, call
Mm.
in the violet flame of transmutation. Know that life is designed, and that's the interesting thing. Life is designed for the light to overcome any perceived opposite.
Mm. Wow. Just take a breath and breathe that in, everyone.
Mm,
Ah, come home.
yes.
Well, thank you so much, Seph.
Thank you for having me, and
Yeah.
blessings to the audience.
Yeah. How can people get in touch with you? Like, we're going to have all the links to getting the Ascension with the Angels deck. I want to link your course. I know you have an event coming up, the activation.
Yes. Yes. So all of that is accessible on my website, talktomyangels.com. That's talk and then TO, myangels.com, talktomyangels.com. From there, you can sign up for the course. You can order a deck of the cards. You can schedule a one-on-one session with me, either through hypnotherapy or a reading. There is an
I've done
event.
both and they're both amazing.
Yes. Oh, I love doing the work. And then there is an event on September 9th. Yes. Where I'm doing a Merkaba activation with the angels from the Kona Cloud Forest on the Big Island, which, by the way, was an event that was orchestrated or intuited before the event on Maui. And now it just ends up being a really great course of healing because we made it into a mixed fundraiser. So 33% of the energy exchange. It's a pay what you want event, and 33% of what comes in from the event is going to go to a vetted organization that's actually boots on the ground, working with
Yeah.
those that have been affected by the Maui fires. And there's also other opportunities. There's events and other things like that that you can participate in. You can connect with me there. But there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, it's a joy to share you with everyone
Thank
and
you.
like just I think there's a myth going around, like I call it like the lonely healer myth. And it really is just we're in our full potency, our full power when we come
Yeah.
together. And this is just a testament to that. And just thank you so much for channeling and serving the mission, like what you're doing and what the angels are doing through you
Thank you.
really, really, really matters. So,
Thank you.
like,
And
not every day is easy, and I just want you to
yeah.
know that.
Yeah, and that's very true. And speaking of the community, I did also create a community there of those who are of like mind. And there is no paywall to be a part of it because, like you said, the most
Mhm.
important thing that we can do right now is be in expansive conversation with each other. And by being in expansive
Mhm.
conversation with each other, we keep each other ignited into the higher
Mhm.
paradigms, the higher realms. And that's where we're accessing source energy. The magic right now is off the charts, right? I mean, it is off the chart.
Oh, this shit is cray.
Yeah, yeah, I love it.
It's like
Yes.
it's blowing my fucking mind, and it makes me. I'm like walking on the beach smiling, and people are like, "That girl smiles a lot." I'm like, "Do you see spirit right now?" Like,
Yes. Oh, yeah. The most magical circumstances. So that's great. And thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
oh yeah, thank you so much, and to everyone listening, all of the links to all of Seph's magic, all of the opportunities to co-create with him, to be in community, to expand will be in the show notes. And go out there, be an amazing you, make a stranger smile for no reason, be the light, be the change. Don't forget that your ideas matter. There are things that you came here to create that only you can create. So remember that. I love you so much. I believe in you. I believe in a better world. And I will see you next time on A
Love
Better
you.
World with Adrienne. Love you all.
Love you.